Rev up your engines! All right, today we got a Lexus that was 2014. It's a good vehicle. Unfortunately, as you can see under the hood, he's had some suspension work done. He said he fell asleep on the highway and ran into the interim. He had the front struts replaced, wheel bearing, rotor, and that wheel bearing, and the other wheel bearing over there. Now, you can't blame that on the car. These are generally really good cars, the ES. Right, they were executive sports, that's what they'd stand for. Same basic color, still going strong. The ES series were really well made. They're so well made that they're still making them today. They made them for a long time and they're still making them. They generally sell about 45,000 of them every year in the United States. It's a really stable market because people are always saying, everybody wants an SUV. Let me tell you, everybody doesn't want an SUV. People that want a nice sedan like this, they're not a mass-produced car. They're still all made in Japan. This one was made in Japan. And made in 2014. It's got the V6 with the timing chain. So you don't have to worry about changing the stupid timing belts. They had timing belts for a while, but this is a more modern engine, and they still have very reliable automatic transmissions. Not CVTs, automatic transmissions. 6-speed automatic. You can shift it manually if you want. Doesn't have shifting pedals. You got to shift it by moving this back and forth. And as you can see, you can go eco, you can go normal, or you can go sport. And with that 6-speed automatic transmission, if you're conservative on the highway, you can get 31 miles a gallon in a car that's as fun to drive as this thing is. Now, you can see it's 10 years old. There's just basic stuff on the steering, but it's beautiful looking steering column. Well, the seats have held up well, as does the armrest. Sunroof still works fine. They got a massive trunk and a lot of room in the back seat. They truly are executive sports cars. That's why they sell 40-something thousand a year in the United States. You want a nice, luxurious car. Now, they're relatively expensive when they're new, so he bought it used. Now, he didn't get a deal like I did. We got one with 60,000 miles for $3 grand, right? He tried it in the car and did this. He's into this thing about $18,000. But when you consider, realize this thing was 38 grand up when it was brand new, and even Kelly Blue Book says it's worth about $15,000 today. So with his $18,000, he did decent. He traded in, he got rid of his old Camry that was all old and worn out, and decided to upgrade and go a little bit fancier. Now, being 13 years newer than my wife's ES300, there's a lot of upgrades on this thing, you can see, right? It's a lot snazzier. It's got the start-stop. I don't particularly like that. Now, it does still have an actual emergency brake, though. I like that. It has various parking and driving warning systems that hers doesn't have. It doesn't have a tape deck anymore, but it's got a CD player. And it also has heated and air conditioning seats, which my wife's car doesn't have. So here we go. It's already connected. We'll do a standalone diagnosis. Now it's going to decode it. And so we know it's ES350, 2014, 2GRFE, 6-cylinder engine. All right, and we will do a scan. Scan all the systems. And while we're doing it, we'll take a look around. I mean, it is a clean car. It doesn't have any of those sticky tops that some of them got. This was one that was made right. Realized this thing was made in Japan. So you've got 3 different memories for seats for 3 different drivers. Now, as you can see, it's got a few trouble codes. It's got 15 of them. So let's start over here. The ECM is the main thing you're worried about, the engine. Startability fault. That often happens with these stupid keyless remotes. Just ignore that. Toyotas and Lexuses do all that time when they know it starts fine. One less worry, the nothing code that these things get all the time. So now 7 of these codes are the GPS system. I mean, really, who gives a crap about these old-fashioned GPS systems? After all, we got cell phones with Google and stuff. You don't need this stuff. Those things are all backdated. The software half the time isn't all that great. They all kinds of problems. Sonar ECU, air conditioner ECU, main body USB fault. We'll erase them just for kicks, but nobody really cares about that stuff anymore. Codes itself, so we'll go to the CSR. Intuitive parking assist. Those systems never work all that well. For the intuitive parking assist, sensors, center sensors, he did smack it all up when he fell asleep. Now, maybe the guys fixed it right and just didn't reset it, so we'll erase those codes. They could have not reset them, or maybe they just didn't fix it right. That's where all this technology costs you a fortune as an owner. If you get in a wreck, all that safety equipment, it's going to get smacked up if you smack the front off and tear the bumper off, and you got to change bearings and struts. And a lot of times, they're either not fixed right at all, or the guys who fix them put the parts lights on but didn't reset them or anything. So let's see what happens after we erase it. We'll go back to the main data. We'll see if it comes back after a road test. Now the TPMS is another one for the stupid tire pressure monitoring. Those systems often break down from the batteries going bad. See, the trouble code is transmitter ID 2 not received. So one of the transmitters, the battery's gone. Who cares? Tire pressure gauges are cheap. Why spend money on that? We'll erase it anyways. Probably come back. The last codes are telematic codes. More crazy technology. Trouble code here is replace backup battery. Okay, the backup battery on the stupid telematics is worn out. People don't even use half of those things anyway, so we'll just erase that for now. Now we'll go to the ECM and we'll look at live data. Put on live data and we'll start her up. Remember, black's good, red's bad, and the flow sensor's good. Looking at stuff here, the two catalytic converters are working fine. They both have the same temperature, front and back. Generally, Toyota and Lexus products don't have a problem with their catalytic converters. We use good gas, drive it, normally the things will last forever. They're not like, say, Nissans, Infinitis that eat up catalytic converters as they age. These really don't. Let's see the target air-fuel ratio, 0.998, and the actual one is 998, 999. Sometimes it's just a tiny bit off. It's almost perfect. Say some of the parking assist is because it's flashing and the owner's walking around, so he's making that beep, so we know that part's working. So I'm assuming the code won't come back after a road test because I think they just forgot to clear the codes when they repaired the car. I see that all the time. Body shops, they'll fix stuff, but they don't have this equipment. Use a cheap scan tool and that won't set back codes for those things. You need a fancy scan tool like this Autel to do all that safety stuff. A little scan tool isn't going to do it. You need a big one to do anything that has to do with any of those safety devices. So let's close the hood, take for a spin. You just have to reset the maintenance required stuff on it. Back it up. Backup cameras, decent camera. Not as strong as some of the modern ones are, but it's decent. First thing I notice is baby smooth. Idles like a dream. There was a big hole on the road. You can't blame the car on that. Still super smooth. Okay, it's 10 years old. Handles fine. Kind of like riding a magic carpet ride. We'll take it to a little drag strip. I can hear a little vroom. It's starting to wear. Hey, you're going to change 3 wheel bearings. Change all 4. They're all worn the same. It's such a nice, luxurious car that little hum of that last wheel bearing would kind of bother me. I wouldn't like it. That's one disadvantage of a really nice luxury car. When something little goes wrong, it's going to bother you because you're going to hear it. Now we'll look behind us. There's nobody coming, so we can come to a stop this time. Wait for the guy in front of us to move a little, and here we go. Right? The traction control kicked in and made it stop squealing, but it did have a little squeal. It's a really fun vehicle to drive around. Look, we're going 40. Let's say you got to pass something. Floor it. Picks up nicely. Makes a nice sound too. Realize that the ES series were the first Lexus to be front-wheel drive. The original one, 400s, they were V8s all rear-wheel drive because originally they sent a bunch of Japanese guys to California. They came to the conclusion Americans want big V8 rear-wheel drive car that doesn't brake, and they built it. Like the second year they sold in the United States, they outsold Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Porsche combined. So they obviously were onto something. They were smart enough to realize, hey, Americans don't mind a front-wheel drive car if it's got this kind of zip and quality, so they've been making them ever since. They still make the ES series. As the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and in this case, improve it little by little over time. Don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. Now, if you were driving this car around, you probably have no idea that's got 158,000 miles on it, but it does. I don't care about the mileage on it. I get in this car and I drive to California, although I changed that wheel bearing before because that little bit of humming in a car like this would drive me nuts. You change 3, you might as well change all 4. And of course, on twisty roads, hey, this thing is a ball to drive. We'll get our scan tool out here. See if any of those nutty codes for the measuring how close you are to cars went bad or not. And none of them did come back. The only thing came back was the tire pressure monitoring sensor because it's probably got a bad battery in it. All those sensors, they're showing they're still working. I noticed when he was walking around the car, it was showing me the side and then the front, so it knew what was going on. They just forgot to reset it when they did the work when he fell asleep and ran into the middle of the road. The only problem with this car really was, it's so smooth and quiet that he fell asleep when he was driving it. and ran into something. And that's how comfortable these things are. Have some coffee when you're driving them because they're so smooth and quiet when you're driving down the road. 150,000 miles is nothing on one of these things if you change the oil regularly. Those transmissions that they have in our 6 speeds are pretty much bulletproof. It still shifts like a dream, runs like a dream. It just needs one wheel bearing. That's the only thing it needs. You don't have to do it right away, but in a car this nice, it would drive me nuts. So if you're looking for one of these used, you could save an awful lot of money over buying a brand new one, and they've got a lot of life in them. They can go 200, 300, 400,000 miles. As long as the original owner changed the oil and filter in the engine, they pretty much are indestructible unless you run into things. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.